We got the microphone. Oh.
The Epping hotel crisis, when courts override communities. Right then, let's cut straight to the heart of what's happening in Epping, because this story encapsulates everything wrong with how this government operates when it comes to immigration policy. While you were going about your Friday, 3 judges in wigs were making a decision that perfectly illustrates the constitutional crisis we're witnessing under Starmer's administration. The Bell Hotel in Epping, Essex. A perfectly ordinary establishment until it became the epicenter of a legal battle that reveals just how disconnected our judicial system has become from the communities it claims to serve. 138 asylum seekers were set to be housed there, and the local community said no. Not unreasonably, not xenophobically, but with legitimate concerns about capacity, resources, and the complete lack of consultation that has become Yvette Cooper's trademark approach to immigration policy. But here's where it gets interesting and frankly infuriating. A High Court judge initially agreed with the community, issuing a temporary injunction that would have prevented these asylum seekers from being housed at the Bell Hotel after September 12th. Common sense prevailed, you might think. The courts recognized that perhaps, just perhaps, dropping 138 people into a community without proper preparation or consultation might not be the most sensible approach. Enter Lord Justice Bean, sitting alongside Lady Justice Nicola Davies and Lord Justice Cobb. These 3 senior judges decided that Mr. Justice Eyre's original decision was, and I quote, erroneous. Erroneous. Not misguided, not requiring reconsideration, but flat-out wrong. They overturned the injunction faster than you can say European Convention on Human Rights, allowing Cooper's Home Office to steamroll straight over the concerns of Epping's residents. Lord Justice Bean's reasoning is particularly revealing. He argued that the Home Office has a constitutional role that supersedes local concerns, and that the original judge's approach ignored the obvious consequence that the closure of one site means capacity needs to be found elsewhere in the system. Now, let's pause there for a moment, because this statement exposes a fundamental problem with our current approach to asylum policy. The system that Lord Justice Bean refers to is broken beyond repair. It's a conveyor belt of crisis management that treats communities like Epping as nothing more than variables in a bureaucratic equation. Close one site, open another. Move the problem around like pieces on a chessboard. Never mind the actual human beings, both asylum seekers and local residents, caught in the middle of this administrative chaos. What's particularly galling is how this decision reveals a true power structure in modern Britain. The Home Office, under Cooper's stewardship, can simply appeal any decision that doesn't suit their agenda, confident that the higher court will prioritize their constitutional role over the legitimate concerns of British communities. It's governance by judicial fiat, and it's fundamentally undemocratic. But let's talk about those protests in Epping, because the media coverage has been predictably slanted. Yesterday, demonstrators appeared with smoke bombs, a dramatic gesture that immediately allowed the establishment media to paint local concerns as extremist. The police were quick to refute any suggestion that protesters attempted to storm the hotel, but the damage was done. Any legitimate opposition to this policy gets lumped in with the most extreme elements, making rational debate nearly impossible. Nigel Farage's response cut straight to the heart of the matter. The government has used ECHI against the people of Epping. Illegal migrants have more rights than British citizens under Starmer. Now, you might not like Farage's politics, but his analysis here is spot on. The European Convention on Human Rights is being weaponized against British communities, creating a two-tier system where the rights of asylum seekers trump the rights of tax-paying citizens to have a say in what happens in their own neighborhoods. Rupert Lowe, MP for Great Yarmouth, summed it up perfectly. The Home Office wins its Epping appeal. A government against its own people. That's not hyperbole. It's a factual description of what we're witnessing. A government that consistently prioritizes the demands of international law over the legitimate concerns of its own citizens is not governing in Britain's interest. The Refugee Council's response is equally telling. CEO Enver Solomon acknowledged that using hotels to house asylum seekers is untenable, but his solution reveals a disconnect between advocacy organizations and reality. He wants a one-off program granting temporary permission to remain for asylum seekers from countries most likely to be granted refugee status. In other words, mass amnesty disguised as administrative efficiency. Solomon claims that waiting until 2029 to end hotel use is no longer an option, but conveniently ignores why we're in this situation in the first place. The asylum system is overwhelmed because successive governments have failed to implement proper border controls and have created incentives for people to make dangerous journeys to reach Britain illegally. The solution isn't to process everyone faster, it's to deter illegal immigration in the first place. The most revealing aspect of this entire saga is how it demonstrates a complete breakdown of democratic accountability in immigration policy. Cooper's Home Office operates with impunity, confident that the courts will rubber-stamp their decisions and that the media will frame any opposition as racist or extreme. Local communities are treated as obstacles to be overcome rather than stakeholders to be consulted. This is what happens when immigration policy is driven by international law rather than national interest. The European Convention on Human Rights, originally designed to prevent the horrors of the Second World War, has become a tool for overriding democratic decision-making. Every time a British court makes a decision that prioritizes the rights of asylum seekers over the concerns of British communities, it weakens the social contract that holds our democracy together. The implications extend far beyond Epping. Every community in Britain now knows that if the Home Office decide to house asylum seekers in their area, their objections are irrelevant. The courts will side with bureaucratic convenience over democratic consultation every single time. This isn't just bad policy, it's a recipe for social division and political extremism. Cooper's approach to immigration reveals everything wrong with Labour's governing philosophy. They talk about serving the people while consistently prioritizing the demands of international organizations and advocacy groups over the legitimate concerns of British voters. It's technocratic governance at its worst, ruled by experts who have no accountability to the communities affected by their decisions. The Bell Hotel will continue to house asylum seekers, the protests will continue, and the division will deepen. Meanwhile, Cooper and her officials will pat themselves on the back for upholding international law, blissfully unaware that they are undermining the very democracy they claim to save. This is how democracies die, not in a single dramatic moment, but through the gradual erosion of democratic accountability and the prioritization of international law over national sovereignty. The people of Epping have learned a valuable lesson about power in modern Britain. They don't have any. When push comes to shove, their voices don't matter, their concerns are irrelevant, and their community is just another data point in someone else's spreadsheet. That's the real constitutional crisis we're facing, and it won't be solved by appeals to international law or lectures about compassion. It requires a fundamental rebalancing of power between the state and the citizen, between international obligations and national interest. But don't worry, I'm sure Cooper has another hotel lined up somewhere else. After all, the system must be served, and there are plenty more communities that haven't learned their place yet. The conveyor belt keeps moving, the courts keep ruling, and democracy keeps dying, one appeal at a time. That's the reality of immigration policy under Starmer and Cooper, a masterclass in how to govern against your own people while claiming the moral high ground. The judges have spoken, the Home Office has won, and the people of Epping have learned exactly how much their opinions matter in modern Britain. Absolutely nothing at all. If this doesn't concern you, it should, because today it's Epping, tomorrow it could be your community, and by then it might be too late to do anything about it. The precedent has been set, the courts have ruled, and democracy has taken another step toward irrelevance. Welcome to Starmer's Britain, where international law trumps local democracy and the Home Office knows best. Sweet dreams, everyone. You're going to need them. Don't let the establishment bury stories like this under a mountain of spin and distraction. Hit that subscribe button, because UK Connors is the only place you will get the unvarnished truth about what's really happening to our democracy. We're not going anywhere, and neither should you.